What's going on, you guys? Like, welcome you guys to the channel. It's your boy Big Dog back with another one take review. And today I got one for Shadow and Bone, season 1. Okay, this is something that took me a while to get into, but overall, I think once I just actually sat down, really just paid attention and pretty much like eliminated the noise, like put your phone down. That's why I think it's best to like watch stuff like that's why I like the theater experience because like you really like to pay attention to what you're watching. Because after I got into this show, I think I eventually end up really enjoying it, especially towards like the from like episode 3 on and on forth. It's basically about dark forces inspired, I guess, an orphan map maker, Alina Starkov, when she unleashes an extraordinary power that could change the fate of her war-torn world. And if you guys don't know from my television reviews I usually do, I have to like talk spoilers. I might not get like everything, or I might not cover literally every single thing that happens, but I usually talk spoilers, obviously. So yeah, you've been warned. If you're looking for a recommendation, yes, I would say go watch this. You know what I'm saying? It kind of feels like one of those Lock and Key mixed with The Witcher, kind of in those realm of shows. Would say Game of Thrones, but I don't think it necessarily gives me that. First of all, I do think the cast is really good. You know what I'm saying? I think that they did a good job. But one of the parts I think that gets me is that the connection between two characters. All right, Alina, who's like pretty much the main character, who has this light she's this special person called. There are these people who call Grisha who like have special abilities. How do people have these abilities? I'm probably wasn't paying attention because, like I said, it took me a minute to like really get focused in on the show. You have Grisha, and then you just have like people, regular humans, right? And then they're all you have these different lands, and they're separated by something called the Fold. The Fold is like this big, dark, shadowy cloud that doesn't move. But if you go into it and you try to travel through it, there are these beasts inside that would kill you because like they live in straight darkness. Okay. But Alina, it was born with the power to destroy this. Granted, she didn't find out this until later on in age. And once the people found out like she had this power, just so happened she was going through the Fold one day and they saw her unleash this power, they was like, hey, this is the person we've been waiting for. Now, she's meant to train and be trained by General Kerrigan, who wants to train her to take down the Fold. But we ultimately find out, like, of course, he's a bad guy. He's the person who created the Fold. He's been living a long time. All of that. You have 3 different factions, right? That are like really focused on. Well, technically, excuse me. Technically a little bit more than that, because you have a group that are trying to capture Alina and sell her for $1 million. Just what I'm saying, they thought she was a fake. They were gonna get her, sell her for $1 million. Cool, because the one person, I guess they just needed the money. Another person was trying to get out of but she's kind of like a slave or something in another sense, or like it's kind of just a worker. Then you have the group with Alina and General Kerrigan, like she's getting trained. He's helping her like develop her powers. He works for the king. And then you have another person named Mal, who's her best friend growing up, and he's on the search for her because they got separated after they discovered that she had these powers. And you also have another little subplot story with a girl named Nina, who's also a Grisha, who has these powers, and she's with this guy named Matthias, who's taking her to be put on trial for something. She's a captive of his, right? And that's pretty much where we at. Not only that, we have like certain worlds. They say warring, but you never really actually see the warring element of it. You just kind of like get the feeling that some of these people disagree, and some of these people are like put in spots where like, we don't like this person or we don't like these certain people, but it never like dives too deep into it. So the whole story is just like everybody's kind of interconnected in one way or another, and like, hey, and Alina's at this centerpiece, except in regards to Nina and Matthias. So her training, her getting all this attention that she didn't necessarily want, her learning about being a Grisha as a younger, and her and Mal relationship You know what I'm saying? The connection between those two. That you also have this big what is it called? A deer. It's a deer, but it's called something else. With these big horns, they find it, kill it, get more power. And uh, General Kerrigan wants to use Elena's power as his own. He wants to harness it so he controls the fold and he controls the light. So if anybody disrespects him, hey, he basically sits the fold on them and they can't do anything. And he can operate and move the fold willingly because he has Elena. So it's a very, very complicated situation for everybody else involved because there's pretty much nothing they can do. But that pretty much comes at the end. Elena's trying to get away from him. At first, she thought there was something there. Then General Kerrigan's mother basically told her, like, "Hey, baby, he's using you. I was trying to get you strong enough so when the time came, like you can get away from him." None of that definitely went as to plan. The weakest storyline I would have to, and all these storylines are cool. I like Mal. I thought Mal was honestly gonna die. It's just they spread him so many times throughout the show. That's kind of a trope that I get tired of it, honestly. I understand why it was there, because you kill Mal, Elena's might not want to work for you or might not want to do anything you say because she lost one of the closest people to her. But at the same time, it's like you kind of could have killed him off screen, or not off screen, but like when she wasn't around or some kind of way, because I always felt he was like a liability that wasn't necessary for you, and he's always something that will always come back and bite you in the ass. And he literally said, "I'm not gonna stop until you're done. If you don't, like, your mistake is not killing me." So I was like, "Dude, you have to get rid of this guy. He's bad. He's bad news." So the biggest, or like I said, the weakest story to me was with Kaz, Jesper, and Inej. Inej's story was cool because she's also a Grisha, and she looks at Elena as a saint, and so she's under the employment of Kaz, right? And she has to do things. I guess like she's bound to him for some reason. I always felt like she was very good at her job, and like she was kind of like a spy. She also like an assassin. And I always felt like she was very good at her job. And I'm like, you can escape this dude whenever you want. Why don't you? You know what I'm saying? And Jesper, like, he's a good shot. He's good with his pistols. So I would just often wonder, like, what were they doing and what was their bigger purpose in the show? And I never actually got that. I never actually got their bigger purpose. I never actually felt like their reasoning for being there was ever justified. That was probably my biggest issue with that. But other than that, man, like I said, I enjoyed it. I think once we get into like this whole thing, and I think this definitely felt like setup. It's like, okay, setting up Elena's powers. It's setting up the relationship between Nina and Mattis, because I knew eventually they was going to end up, locking in with each other, because they got to spend more time around each other. He didn't trust her because she was a Greek. She always thought like, hey, you people are bad. I've been taught that. When somebody teach you something so long, that's the only thing that's in your mind. And then you meet somebody who doesn't fit what you've been told, and you start to change. But at the same time, you still kind of reluctant to do it. And then anything that person does that goes back into the to the thoughts that you initially had of them, mess everything up. And that's pretty much what happened with her. Even though she was saving his life by calling him a slaver, that didn't matter because he's still in prison. And Nina turned on other Grecians, which they don't like. So that's going to be an interesting story next season, especially since they're around like Kaz and Jesper, their group. But now we have the big fight in the fold, and where Kerrigan, I think he kind of went about it the wrong way, and that's typically a lot of the times how these things happen. And I understand where Kerrigan's coming from, because one of Kerrigan's lover was killed right in front of him. You know what I'm saying? And he couldn't do nothing to save her. And so, of course, he wants revenge for that, and that's how he created the fold, and that's why he did all these things. But at the same time, it's just like, dude, you gotta have a better way of bringing her uh, on board with you. You have to like, you should have gave her the game, like told her exactly what happened, like been real with her. I get it now. I get how that might not have necessarily seemed like the right thing to do because it's like, okay, what if she doesn't like that? What if she rejects that idea? It's better than you completely like losing her. Like she would have known what she was about. You know what I'm saying? So either way it go, he ends up getting out. They had a fight and he loses. He gets attacked by his own monster that he created in the fold, which were technically like former humans, I think. So eventually, he gets out, and he's able to bring the monsters out of the fold with him. That's the last thing we saw. As I'm trying to see how is he capable of doing that. We're gonna have to find out next season. We're also gonna see probably Atlanta trains. He gets stronger to be able to destroy the fold. We're gonna have to see what Nina is going to do with Masters because he's apparently about to go to a prison. We have Kaz. Kaz's crew about to go back to their like I can never get none of the homelands or anything ever were like distinct enough. All of them just felt the same. Kind of wish they would have had like a little more uniqueness to them. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of would have felt like where I known where I was at. So they about to go back and clear the tab on what is her name? An edge. But I'm still kind of like, okay, that's cool. I still don't see the purpose in their story yet. I need them to be able to justify their reasoning for being around. Overall, I still enjoyed the season. Like I said, I wouldn't have finished these 8 episodes if I didn't enjoy it. Because that's how it was at first. I would watch the episode and I stop. I watched another episode and I stop. Then I think I watched episode 3. I was like, okay, maybe this is pretty good. Because I watched like episode 1 and 2, like I think like a couple of weeks in between. You know what I'm saying? And then I watched episode 3 and I'm like, a couple days later I go ahead and I watched episode 4, and from episode 4 I just pretty much binged it. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy the series. I'm excited to see what they do next season. I think things the way things are set up and the way things are ended this season, I think next season is going to definitely be better, and I'm looking forward to it. But if you guys seen it, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Peace.